remind you that we are on social media. I'm Jim Bono, your host. John Pease will be doing sports, Kate Rickey with weather, and Dave Cluse with the stock report. I'll ask Bernie Poplinski to lead us in the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
All right, Mr. Bono?
Here.
Albrecht? Clues? Mr. Clues?
Here.
Scarano? Here. Ricky? Here. Warnzak? All right, here. Good morning.
We have, minutes were sent to you, they're on pages 1 through 4. Any additions, corrections, revisions? Hearing none, I need a motion to accept. Anyone? Kate Rickey, second by Ann. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed, carried. Item number 4 is the financials, they're on 5 through 8, pages 5 through 8. Any comments? John, any,
Nothing outstanding. We'll talk about the budget as the next item. We're running up to date on everybody. Everybody's paid up in their, whatever loans or grants we have out there, loans that we have out there. Still working with some of the budgets or some of the money we have left to do some more things in Manheim, which we'll talk about. No, everything is on track. Does anybody have any questions about what we look for financials for up to this date?
okay, need a motion to accept. David Cluse, second. Mike Hornzak, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Item number 5, the revised budget, page 9.
So on that allocation of our profit and loss as it stands to date, will be roughly minus $55,000. Hopefully we'll make up some things with some closings of some projects and some other administration fees and things that we'll be doing throughout the year. I just wanted everyone to be aware of that, but we will need a motion on this to change what our budget is for the year.
Comments, questions?
Are we allowed to pass a budget that's negative? Good question.
Defer to Mr. Wallace on this.
Just,
As,
Is it,
I know if we get to
With
the
his
end of the year and we're
experience.
kind of financially in a deficit, that will come to the county and ask for a little help, but
Can't hear you.
I said. You heard me.
That's one
You
reason why,
heard me.
that's one reason why I didn't want
Legal-
to come,
Well,
because
I
that
just
would
didn't
be
know,
the
is it
response
from a,
that we can
are we a
expect.
viable, prudent board
John, how'd you
passing
go from
a?
$125,000 surplus to a $55,000 negative?
The land purchase was not in there for last year, so we had
Okay.
to take out the 90,000 for
Gotcha.
Skylar, which will be happening on Thursday.
So if you appropriate the fund balance, you're even, right?
No.
Because you didn't spend that 90 that you were gonna spend this year, right?
For this year, we're gonna spend it now, 90,000. We thought we
Yeah,
were
for
gonna
next
spend
year.
it last year.
For next year, right?
Well, yeah, this is our 2020 budget.
So I'm just saying, you didn't spend the 90 this year, take that fund balance and put it towards the budget. I mean, that's, unless I'm missing something.
But we have a fund balance, I agree with you on that, and so what we actually have here is what our budget is set up for, which really doesn't include what we have for a fund balance as well.
Well, I'm just trying to address Dave's question, that's all I'm trying to do. So you would have a balanced budget if you appropriated 55,000 in fund balance.
If we took it from our fund balance, we might.
All right,
Depending on
well,
where we
I mean, it's
stand
up to
with
you
that.
guys.
Because that money will come too, where we'll have to take money for
I
that,
understand.
for the other fees, for
land
the
purchase and
properties.
Skylar, I'm just wondering, can we approve a budget that's showing a deficit?
We've done it in the past years, because we've had no money.
All right, fine. I thought.
What we have to take a look at is where the money that we have in the fund balance is pretty much looking to be allocated for these purchases of the new properties, where we're looking to do a lot of other studies that have to be done in order to sell them. You know, there's
I
believe
know
it or
there's a
not.
lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Mine was not to address the income and the expense, it was more just the purpose of and I don't recall ever doing that before, but I could be totally wrong, that
Yeah.
we approved budgets that didn't show a surplus.
We would've been good if we bought it last year, this Skylar
Fine.
property, but
I
that's.
think then it'll be resolved this week.
I agree.
All right.
Any other comments? Okay, motion? John Scarano, second by Mike Wernzak. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Trying to cook us to get this meeting over fast.
Item number 6, Central New York Defense Alliance sponsorship, number 10, page 10, I'm sorry. Anyone on?
Sure. So this is a organization that is up at the Griffiths base. With Brandeisi's new appointment to the committee that helps fund what goes on at the base, the community sponsorship, which is $200, we have an opportunity to sit at that table just with other development throughout the county. Example, what we're trying to do in Ilion, and you know, you look at space all around in Oneida County, and they are looking to branch out from there. This will let us know a little bit more on what's going on up there as far as AI, cybersecurity, and quantum development. So I thought it's a good opportunity for us to get into this.
I move.
$200.
$200,
David
right.
Cluse, second. Kate Rickey. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Item number 7, Skyler land purchase. As you know, we're gonna be closing on the, on the second. Closing costs, and you wanna,
$947,667.68. We'll be having many checks written today. I shouldn't say many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 checks today, in order to have the closing done on Thursday. So, plus, well, it'll all come through our funding. Last week, Mr. Wallace brought over the check for the $850,000 that we deposited, so we're covered in the account to pay all this. So we don't need any, we don't need a motion on this. I don't think so, because we already voted, correct?
So we did.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
the crop harvested?
No.
Yes.
What, yes, when?
This past weekend. It's completely gone.
Oh, good.
So that means we're
Happy New
2
Year.
years, right?
2 years
Right,
to go.
yeah.
Wow. Well, that's
Good.
been help for other things going
Yeah.
on. Boy, we looked, when did they do it? Saturday? We drove by Saturday morning, it was still there.
It was either Saturday or Sunday. They
Oh.
ran trucks all day past the house.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, item number 2 in,
The Emmerich survey, this was an advanced survey, the ALTA property survey map that, from our consultants for the, development of the property requested that we do this. This'll tie in with some wetland studies that down the road, or down the sheet here for, what we're looking to do. He's proposing roughly about, 1,050 per day of doing, all of the work for that. He doesn't anticipate much time on that. I think we've talked to other survey people and also other ones from out in the Syracuse area. They're a lot more than he is, Mr. Emmerich is. Once we get the wetland, flags in place, not saying that we believe there's wetlands on there, but we do have to present that study down the road, as I mentioned. So I think what we would see here is a good survey to help us promote this property. And we'll talk more about this property in executive session.
this is pretty much comprehensive.
It's more of an in-depth survey than what we did currently. It does more easy, it's really a survey that makes it more presentable when we're marketing the property. And let's not forget that, half of all of the cost for this is included in a grant that we received from National Grid. So our costing isn't at that level, we have a grid contract too. So I would like a motion on that to accept his quote.
Any questions? Kate, motion? Second, Ann? Any more discussion?
What's the fee again?
It's
15
ten,
bucks?
well, it's up to $4,500, but it's $1,050 per day. He anticipates roughly 2 days to do the project. He was concerned about the amount of wetland that was there, but I'll have a discussion with the wetland down the road here. They did a lot of aerial stuff already before they went, and they don't think there's anything. We had conversations with another contractor that proposed wetland service study to us at $19,000, and he was talking about a stream or a creek that was a mile away, and that could cause effect on this, so we found a better firm.
It's not a bad price for surveying.
No.
No, not, and it's not a standard
expecting
survey.
A lot more. Oh, it's not?
No, it's the one,
No.
it's this Alta one that helps us when we're marketing the property. It's an advanced survey on it, so it gives the easements, the roads, it talks about, all the wetland, it'll delineate the flags, anything past history on it, how close you can build to the property lines, it's pretty in-depth.
All right, cause I would have thought a survey would cost $10,000.
Yeah.
All right.
We have a basic one done now, that, Highways helped us with. Mr. Wells, what was that, like a year and a half ago, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. So, it was just basic stuff that they took off. They walked the property for us and, remember, so.
You may absolutely, okay.
Oh, you didn't take the vote, you just said,
No,
first and second.
No, he's right, we didn't vote.
It's the end of the year and I'm losing.
Well, I threw you by asking a question after the second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Item number 3 under 7 is, what to name the additional business, or the new business park, I guess,
Is it new, or do we just call it Skylar Business Park?
the Skylar Annex or whatever, I don't.
How about the Poplinski?
I would just continue, yeah, I would just continue to call it Skylar Business Park.
We can't call it the Poplinski pothole part? No, that's your way of going out today.
It's big, Bernie, you can name it. We'll have naming rights, okay?
Poplinski Polish
Give us a
Park.
donation, we'll call it
It'll-
anything you want, Bernie.
It's just gonna help with the continuation after we close the marketing the property. So I think it is good that we just keep it the Skylar Business Park, but once again, it's not up to me, it's up to y'all, so.
I think, that's common sense.
Yeah, another name, it's just gonna get more confusing.
Okay,
Okay, well,
Skylar
Business Park.
item number 8, the Dufold site, landmark consulting proposal. As you know, John, was, victorious in his, quest for,
Wow, he's trying. Just
I saw
trying
it on
to-
CNN.
He's trying to get whatever words he can out.
well, we're live, John.
He's so happy, you know.
It was truly a
So, no, John
excellent.
did an excellent job there, brought the Mohawk Valley and Herkimer County, national attention with developers. So, John, you wanna tell us about the experience?
Sure, prior to that day, I was able to also speak at our EPA roundtable. We're Region 2 that encompasses New York, New Jersey, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. So we had a room of about 150, 175 people. We talked about properties and grants that we had, so it was real interesting to get in with all of those people as well, and to find out that the administrator for our region is Peter Lopez, a former assemblyman who still lives in Schoharie County that wants to come here and support us more, so I thought that was excellent. So we had a great day at that at first, and then the second afternoon was the redevelopment rodeo. I got to go third, I thought that was great, and I presented the Dufold property, which I've told you all about several times. The other two presenters really didn't market it, they more read a speech and some slides, and it wasn't as, they were older properties and they didn't really have a cause. They didn't say, we wanna develop it for this, they didn't say they wanted to tear down every facility forever. There's pollutants, they put it into a stream and they thought that detention ponds, and they thought all that soil was great topsoil, and they let people scoop it out for years and bring it all around the community and find out it's all contaminated now. And they didn't have a real good plan on what they would do with the site. The other people we competed against was a nation, an Indian nation out in Portland, Oregon. And clearly, I did research on both of them prior to that, and they clearly stated how they wanted to turn that into a casino, though that was never brought up that day. It was more getting back their heritage, and I'm leaving talking to the guy next to me, so their heritage is casinos? I don't know, but a beautiful location. And they didn't have really a good game plan for anything either, so I think that's why we won Best Presentation. Just to talk about what we saw for the future with the property, all the data that Stacy and Victoria helped collect, the way that, you know, Victoria put the slides together with all the information that we had, the video really stood out. The Indian Nation had a video, but it wasn't on specs of that, it just talked about their nation. So I think that's why we were successful with that, and that gets us a lot of funding towards different things to do with the dual fold property, whether it's market analysis. This land, the thing I'm requesting today is for historic, to get it on the historic, for tax credit, historic tax credits, and that's something a little different. But I haven't asked if I can use money towards that, but I wanna move ahead with this anyways. But there'll be a lot of opportunity. We're gonna have a conversation middle part of next month on where we could start spending some of those dollars. We're also victorious, and that's another down the road in our packet too, but I'll just talk about it briefly. A grant we did with Edge through the CFA process of another $38,000 for the Dufold property. So it's getting a lot of attention, and we think that there's some excellent opportunity. During my presentation, there was 4 judges. The room had about 450 people in it. So anybody could ask questions, but first it was the 4 judges, and one of the judges came right out and said, this property, I would never buy it. And I've sat on many panels and discussions, and he didn't give reasons why, but he only bought properties in Southern California, and this no way is close to being in Southern California. So I thought that was kind of rude, and I just, you know, you get taken back a little bit. As soon as we were done, I told everybody I had stick drives and fact sheets, and people came up and took the stick drives. Nobody else had that. I thought that was another good thing. Then one of the judges came up to me and said, hey, look, tomorrow the owner of our company's here doing another panel. Come to that, and afterwards we'll talk. We're very interested in the property. So our next phase is phase 2, which we're working with Tony Halleck and the DEC attorney to see what the scope of work is for that. Once we have that and do phase 2, they want to come up here and talk about the property. One active gentleman who was anti the property requested some data and said, hey, I have somebody else that's interested in that property now too. So, I mean, we can't deny anything. Nothing's set in stone, but at least we're getting people to come up here and take a look. So another good opportunity came up with another property, which we'll talk about in the executive session. But so right now, what we're looking to have a motion on, or a resolution on, is the Landmark Consulting Company. And they came and took a look at various properties throughout our county, one being the Dufold property. And she provided us with a quote, and it's to help get this going into the historic tax credit, to work with Historic Preservation, SHPO, more or less, in New York State. We have those guys coming too. I think it's 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks from Albany, to look at the property as well. The deputy commissioner, we met him, and he wants to come up and help us with this. So to try to condense it all, whatever we do to get it going with historic tax credits, we will get that money back when we help sell the property. So usually what happens is the new developer comes in and starts this process, but it takes a long time. So part of the MOU process that we've set up with Alien and some of our other conversations, whatever money we put into the project, we'll be able to recoup on the backside. So this is something that I feel is very important for us to move ahead, not only for here, but for some of the other, to get in line with historic historic group like this, because we have the Village of Properties, we have Little Falls' area, and we also won another grant down in Dolgeville with us in Fulton County for a brownfield opportunity assessment. This can tie into a lot of things.
So the 50,000 that you won, where does that go, or what can it be used for?
For a lot, listing the property, coming in and doing structural analysis, working with another group, taking away, have an HRP who needs to outsource some of what we're doing for phase 2 to get some consultants in for that. To come in and have an architect redesign the structure in order to market it with what the people have thought it could be. You know, it doesn't have to be that way, but when you show more plans, people are more enticed to take a look at the property. It'll help us with doing other surveys too. We could do a traffic study near there. We could do a, what else would fit into the area. So
you have to like submit receipts and then they reimburse you?
it's all pro bono work. So the groups that they have like 30 different groups that volunteered to take this on.
Oh, okay.
So they'll come in and say, okay, we're giving you 30 hours of this, here's the scope of the work, fantastic. So that goes as part of our funding stack and our present package, so.
Got it.
Yeah, so there's no out-of-pocket fee for us, which is great, But there is those high-level firms, like our fact sheet that we did, that was, Behan, Communications, they do everything for Chrysler around the country. That was pro bono, I won at another place. So he gave us, we keep sending them all this data, they update our fact sheet at no cost. So,
If this goes to the national registry, does that mean that whoever buys property has to do,
no, it gives them historic tax credit. So what can happen in that case, say, what you use that tax money for is, new elevators. HVAC, paved blacktop, you get 40% of that. On top of that, this is in a new market tax credit area as well. So there's a lot of, it doesn't mean that, you can't tear down anything. If they come in and find that this area is not structurally sound, of course they want it torn down. They just want you to repurpose, and this gives you another tax incentive.
but it
to do
doesn't
it.
have to go according to any
No,
historical?
it's not like those houses that you
right.
see that you can't change the color of the
Right,
paint,
okay.
no.
John, did the school board come back with a decision?
They did, that's another thing I was gonna talk about too. So before I left, I went to the school board in Ilion and asked them if they would do a 10-year, no tax on the property once we found a developer, and they agreed. They sent me back a letter, they agreed for 10 years. So I reached out to Mr. Wallace after that, Pete Rabazzi, the town supervisor, and Mayor Lamica from the village. I'm meeting with the mayor, I think next Wednesday, and to talk about what we need to have done there. I'm not sure when I'm with the county, but I think everybody, after talking to different legislators, I think we're all on board that we'll give zero sales tax for 10 years. So after everybody agrees to it, then we'll have a public hearing and adopt it through our IDA. So it'll be something that we'll have to do as well.
Property tax.
Property tax, zero property.
Insane,
Same,
So sales tax.
I'm sorry,
never done that.
so I'm glad you're catching me on those.
I am, okay. Any other,
So I just need a resolution on the landmark consulting.
anyone?
I'll make
John
that motion.
Scarano.
Accept that.
Second by, I'll second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried.
Just so you know too, with her, she did some reviewing of, the Bill's School, Quackenbush site, the old jail, and the, I can't think of the name of the property on Main Street that we talk about.
the
Masonic
Masonic.
Temple, and those are all in historic district now. So that's fantastic when someone's coming to look at and developing those areas.
Okay, item number 9.
Railroad spur,
Engine.
engine number
Jim,
9.
do you have something you wanna say?
No,
You look like you were gonna
no,
say
no, no.
something. Railroad spur study.
So we included in the long-range transportation plan, let me just back up a little bit. Herkimer County is with Oneida County in a long-range transportation plan, and part of that organization is the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Regions of certain size population are a part of that. They're funded by the federal government to do different studies and different programs. I saw that opportunity, and after having discussions with a distribution company, a trucking company, a scrap company, and a repair business, they have very big interest in us putting spur in our county. We put in a few different projects to Dana, I can never say her last name, Crisino over there. She took those and made them adapted to their 2020 to 40 long-range plan. At their last meeting, they voted on it and passed it, so that's part of the plan. They did open it up to the entire region, however, the first focus will be on this program, the railroad spur. Several areas along Route 5 and the railroad from the Oneida County line into the Herkimer County have a viable part that we could put this railroad spur in. What she told me is I'm gonna have to present to them within this next month to have it go onto their agenda, that they'll reach out to a consultant to start doing this. She says, one thing that'll make it better is if we put some skin in the game. She doesn't anticipate the study to cost more than $100,000. Her recommendation was if we could do 10% income, or 10%, I can't think of what I'm looking for, a 10% contribution, yeah. So I'm asking out of this resolution for $10,000 to put toward, up to $10,000. If it's only $75,000, it'll be $7,500. I think there's some opportunity here where we could it would make us a larger player in the area of, all the ports down in the New York, Albany, New York City, ports that are just overwhelmed with truck traffic. Syracuse has never developed their intermodal, port as like they should have. Only a few companies are using it, it's just not expanded enough. One of the bigger trucking companies around here, Steve Spurt, we talked to him, he thought this was a great idea as well. I think we would have to form something down the road, but right now it's just a study to see if it'll fit into what they wanna do. The biggest hurdle will be the railroad, CSX Railroad, to make sure that they'll sponsor that and be a part of it. But the state, if the state steps in and says, this is what we need, and you'll do it, that'll be a different. Not locally, you know, and there's no room for they have spurs where they'll park the train, but they don't unload or load.
It's for their use, not.
Yeah, it's not for repair, you know, furbish or anything.
I don't really wanna ask this question
You can.
on camera. What the heck is a spur?
It's just an offshoot of the railroad line, so it gives you
Something, but
about,
Don't they have a Utica?
they can't unload and load there, they park the trains, the cars there, just like when you go up towards, Boonville, they'll leave a ton of cars there, but there's no area where you take a crane, lift off the product or put the product on.
It's more of a switching station in Utica, to,
Oh, it was,
connect.
was something on
We're-
your boot.
we're
when you were a
talking about-
Cowboy with a spurs.
no, we're talking about
The
actually
closest one is
taking the
Syracuse.
trailers off and then putting them on trucks and then shipping them out.
Well, Dave Cluse, I'm hoping we answered your question.
You did. Bernie's saying, I'm so happy you asked such a dumb question.
See, the scrap market, to get it down, you know, this ties in great with the governor's long-term plan of environmental justice too, cutting down, you know, and it's,
Makes the decision.
no, well, it'll be with the federal government, which, you know, we're fortunate enough to have 2 senators and 2 congresspeople, and it just depends on how, after the study, no sense in elevating it now, till after she comes back with a study and says, yes, this is a great idea, here's a good location, now we work towards doing it.
And you're thinking this makes more sense, that the IDA puts the 10% in, or the county? Or is that not, is this more?
Either or,
Either or?
either or,
Since
well, we'll,
5% each.
we'll spur the effort.
We'll spur the.
Oh,
effort.
boom.
Oh.
Going out with a bang.
So just for the heck of it, you have a thought of where a spur should go,
I do,
and you're gonna say it?
no, executive session I
Oh,
will.
okay. Cause I got a good idea.
Any other,
Executive session, we'll be happy to discuss that, but right
Questions?
now, that would pertain to
Good.
any other questions?
jeopardized properties.
So, do we have the money to do it?
We do have the money in our, fund balance to support $10,000 for a
Alright.
study for this.
I'll move that we do it.
Clues, second by
I'll second it
John
with a question.
Sperano.
Okay.
Is there a time frame on the study, Jen?
Well, that's a good point. She looks at whatever we do, because of the limited resources that they have. So I need to present next month in January, so they can vote on it, so we can start the study. If we, hold up more, their resources could go to a different project. But I'm okay with that too, it depends on what the board would like to do. It's just, you know, we've been working on a presentation now, and we just wanna see, if not, that's fine too. I just see the companies that have requested this contact me every couple of weeks, where are we with this, cause they really like the, so there'll be a revenue generator, there'll be employment generation. We don't even know, I talked to someone who's done this down in the Virginia area, cause of our contacts, and, he says it doesn't seem like you can get to the end game, but you really can, and it can be a benefit to the community.
Motion made, second. Warren?
No, I'm just saying, the amount of trains that go up and down that we have a field of mowing hay one day and they're just coming. There's a lot.
About every 7 minutes.
Is there really?
I hear the whistle.
I don't hear a
Don't you
whistle.
hear it?
There's,
Yeah, you have to blow a whistle.
Johnny Cash. All right. It's made in second, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. We're at it again here, annual election of officers. Oh, I'm sorry, skip ahead. Attend Site Selectors International. Page 21.
So, site selectors, which we all know that we're here, and we sent you out all a a recap of what they provided us, as what they saw that we needed and what we need to do. They're having an event in New York City in February. It's I think a Monday, Tuesday type event, or Tuesday, what we have. I think it's important. Right now, myself and Mr. Bono have registered, not sure that he can go. It's a overnight trip, only because the night before they have a networking event, and I think we get a lot of networking events. So I recommend that we do this. I talked with Edge about it as well. They'll be attending it too. I think it'll be a good chance for them to do some other introductions for us, and it'll tie in great with some of the new things that we're doing.
Any discussion? Any discussion? And we need approval on that, I need a
Yep.
motion. And second by John. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Carried.
Of course, we'll let you know what happens when we get there.
I know we just approved it, but we approved to go, but we didn't approve any money or anything, just.
Well, yeah, the total cost of it, okay, I mean, we didn't say a dollar amount, but it's $650 to go, and then the hotel is, I don't know, do you remember? And then the train ride down, yeah, and then we'll take a train down and back.
CSX.
If they let us, I always wanted to be a hobo, that sounds handy
You
too.
can jump on one of them
You're looking
cars.
good with the.
I'm ready, I like beans out of a can.
Okay, number 11, election of officers, committees, they're listed on page 2. I'm just gonna ask everybody if they wanna consider switching around a little bit. I think it would be a good idea if there's any objection, if there's not any objection, to just switch around a little bit. This way everybody's cross-trained in the duties of the organization, and I don't know, what do you think? I mean, I'm willing to, I already talked to Ann about myself stepping down off the loan committee, and based on her experience in the baking industry, I think she'd be a good fit for it. So I know there's one, but anyone else interested in switching around? Any Corey? You mentioned?
Corey sent me a text this morning, if Mike wanted to move aside, he'd be happy to be treasurer to start working towards things. I won't deny, as a chairman, who, if anyone's interested, I mean, Jimmy, of course, knows this, we probably talk 4 times a day, if not more, about a lot of issues that go on here. And it's hard if you can't get back, because I don't wanna be the only one that knows what's going on. And it's important that you have some ideas and things to bounce off of with other people. So, right, Jim? I mean, it's critical that we try to do those things. And we do have a lot going on, which you'll see further down as well. So it's up to whoever's thinking about doing some things, but, whatever more you wanna participate in, I'd like to see somebody else added to the marketing committee too. There's 2 of us, we have a couple things, we need to update our website, and also if we're getting involved with the CRC or the LDC, we're gonna need to update that website, so we'll need some more people involved in the marketing committee a little bit too. You can see that the governance and audit and finances of the board of a whole, so those can remain the same. And then if anybody's looking that wants to, I know Stacy doesn't wanna be the assistant secretary treasurer anymore, no, I'm only kidding, but she has no choice, so.
Okay, so the only change right now is myself and Ann on the revolving loan. Is anyone interested in the marketing committee as an addition?
If Dave Albright wants to be involved, maybe that's
Corey?
good for him.
Corey,
Corey, Dave's his father, I'm sorry.
Would he,
I don't know.
I don't wanna speak for him, but I mean,
Well, you are.
if you're looking for, when you're not here, you get
does
appointed.
anyone else, all right, can we vote him in?
Sure, I don't think he'd complain.
He takes part.
And then Mike, you're still interested?
Yeah, I
Okay.
would continue to do the.
Okay. All right, so I need a motion then to, accept the slate of officers as presented. Anyone? Huh?
Make that motion.
Kate Rickey will make the motion, and second by Mike Marzak. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye? Any opposed? Oh, just jovial today, aren't we?
Well, I got scared when I thought maybe we had to talk to John 4 times a day, so I got.
Or, it's late. FYI too, there's talk in the New York State Senate that, elected officials may not be able to sit on these boards. But it's the IDA, the new LDC that we just formed, which we're scheduled to have a meeting, the end of, correct, or,
We haven't picked a date yet, but
in January, that would coincide with our, date here at the, IDA. So we'd have the
County
same day.
legislator
It would be
fits
a-
into that?
oh, that's for the
Yeah,
next.
so a county legislator would not be able to be on this board?
Elected official.
Elected official.
So there's talk of that in the
Mayor
Senate to change
or-
that, so, and that's exactly what I had said.
Odds are 75% it's gonna go through.
And don't you agree that it's because of New York City, an alderman gets on these committees, like the CRC or the LDC, and says, you're putting all this funding in my district, because I need to get reelected. Where here, like Bob represents how many different communities, you know, you have the town, the village, another village, I mean, so that's why you don't see that in our state, but I think it's gonna pass too. So we'll end up, but then, you know, in a lot of other areas throughout the state, the CRCs are set up just the way the IDAs are too, so. But you're gonna lose people that wanna
And I
commit to
think
service.
I mean, there's a number of county legislators here, which are land and stuff like
No,
that we
absolutely.
would lose if you guys
Well,
wouldn't
you
be
still
here.
have, you still have
They
that
can
partnership,
attend.
we still can attend.
No question it would erode.
Yeah, but it's working together, like.
Over 10, 15, 20 years, there's no question.
Absolutely. And we've got a great
But that's
partnership.
what happens.
with our
You're lucky you
IDA
have some
county.
legislators that really put in a lot of time.
But you're gonna, I agree. And the newly formed LDC, you know, have to be reformed, you're gonna lose 4 members there. So, and where do you pick up these people? We all sit on boards, we all go to the same boards, and it's always the same faces, and there's no new faces that wanna, especially in a smaller community like ours, so, we just wait and see. I know Brian wrote it down, and
LDC was pretty well
Keep
discussed
that,
among ourselves. That LDC issue was,
You call that discussion?
spirited debate, is that better?
But they don't want it to be political,
Yeah.
and that's what they're seeing downstate, they're seeing it so political.
Yeah, so again, we pay for the sins of,
Yeah, but they're still gonna appoint their best friend who's gonna do what he was gonna
Yeah,
do.
we do anyway.
it's just,
It's typical New York State.
these are authorities where you're actually paid, you know, and some of these authorities, so, you're gonna see, it become political.
We focus on that.
Doesn't matter.
I know, what difference does it make?
Yeah, you got a raise.
That's why I, at the
Get
last,
a raise here.
You
Okay.
can go for it today, you're, yeah, you can.
Bernie can say whatever he wants.
Item 12, 12A. Paychecks, page 23 of your handouts.
You already, we sent this around to you last week, we were supported by all of you to move ahead with this, we have, so as of this week, we'll be using Paychex as our payroll services. They do a lot more than just do the payroll, and we were getting concerned about meeting compliance with a lot of HR things, which they're gonna help us with as part of this fee, so, thank you very much. We need a motion.
We need a motion, and that was for 6.
No, it was, total fee was $21.32.
Mike Wernzak, second by Ann. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed? 12A, CDBG, Michael Enterprise.
We won. Woo-hoo.
No, that's great.
It is great. But what we have to do is, we had to contribute our percentage to this too, so I'd like to, we talked about it in the beginning, and we have set aside the 20,000 because we did talk about doing this when we submitted the application, that the IDA would cover the $20,000 of the, you know, our contributing part to it, our equity in it. What we do get back is 11,000 in grant administration. So in a sense, we're only doing 9,000, but we do need the 20,000, so we will need a motion on that, to accept the grant and to accept, 20,000 to put towards it in equity.
Motion. Mike, second. Dennis Brown, any discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed, carried. Item 13, wetland studies.
No, marketing, Manheim Business Plan.
Manheim Business Park.
So where we are now in Manheim, I had a meeting there on last Monday night, and the town is ready to move ahead with their attorney. He handed out paperwork on what he believes we need next, which is the same handout we did on January sometime of 2019. So it's been a year. We have not completed our map plan and report. John Putnam has been out on vacation. I plan on talking to him early next week. I'm not looking to still sign the large agreement that he handed us for this, since most of the work is completed. We might need to have a special meeting just to support whatever the difference in cost will be. So the map plan and report will cover both the water and sewer lines, where they'll be located, so they can submit everything to Department of Health, DEC, and because they're not contributing for bonding for this, because of the grants and different things that we're doing, they might not need to even go to the Attorney General, or not, the State Controller's office for this, so we're still working that out. But I wanted to bring that all to your attention, that there might need to be an emergency meeting coming up.
We need to action.
No, I'm gonna hold off on that only because I was hoping to talk to him yesterday and he just doesn't, he's not around. Yeah, the study, wetland studies will be something.
Okay. Item 14, our updates, John.
No, we do need the wetland study one, 13A.
You do need that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 13A covers two, and it's not in your packet, it's two properties we need to do wetland studies in. They will just be, the initial fee for this is for them to come and do the site allocation. One of them's $550, the other one is $750. So we're not looking at, you know, roughly $1,500 to do. It's a firm out of Gloversville that'll work closely with Emmerich Surveying over there in Schuyler. We want to take a look at where some potential wetlands on some other property that we're looking at as well. So he's going to come back to us with, and he's already done some preliminary study on it, where he's done some Google search, some of the maps that we already sent him. He works excellent with the Corps of Engineers, so I would like to go ahead to do this. I planned on walking with him yesterday, but they got the ice storm. But I plan on walking with him next week sometime. I think it's Tuesday morning.
Which were the two properties?
Well, one of them's one we're looking at now,
Oh,
and the other one is Schuyler.
Okay.
Okay. Need a motion? John Scalano, second. Dave Clues.
Around that, I think.
Yep.
Any more discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed, carried. Okay, now the updates, John.
Okay. Didn't I add, I also, did we hand out the sponsorship for the EDC conference? No? So up at the end of the month, at the end of January is our EDC conference. It's for economic development for the state. One of the things that we do are quite active in. Other IDAs do sponsor the program. I'm not saying we need to, but I just want to make you all aware of it. A sponsorship would be $400. That would have our IDA included in a lot of the media handouts and things. I don't know, I wanted to make everybody aware of it. I'm not 100% behind it, but if somebody else thought, after what we've been doing as far with the state and everything recently and just getting our name out there more, if it was worthwhile. The state engineers from around the state, different developers per se, from brownfield development to
They
like
put it on a-
BBL, Hodgkin Russ.
They put it on a banner or a.
Oh, the
literature,
handouts, the
anything else?
handouts, the mailers, you go to the website now, it'll be scrolling across there. I'm willing to wait one more year, just so, we haven't really been on this, if you got a chance to see it. I think it'd be good to hold off for one more year.
All right, let's go to updates. Dave Clues with stocks.
So Frankfurt 5S South Business Park, H&M went in with their contractor and fixed up around the cul-de-sac, did some work where they thought would help support the flooding. We would not sign off on anything until next spring, till with the help of Herkimer Highways. Jim and Mark over there have been huge to help us, as well as Ron Testa, before they say, okay, this'll work, that we don't get the flooding at the end of it. So, right now it's just status quo with the cul-de-sac until we can turn that over. The town has agreed to continue to plow it. So that's great for us too, that's been the only thing that we've needed. Adirondack Food and Fuel had a little bit of a slowdown. They applied for gas on August 22nd and received it roughly around December 20th. So that was a huge whole issue. Powers, everything's up and running right now. Still waiting to help them support more of their CDBG grant. Still working out those details with them, but everything else, they're on track for a soft opening anytime now. Pumps are in,
Pump station.
pumps are all in, yeah, oh yeah, not done, yeah. So both, regular fuel and, diesel fuel, those high-speed diesel fuels are unbelievable. I was up there when they were doing the testing of it, how quickly it can fill a diesel truck quicker than it fills a car. It's amazing how many gallons they can get into that so fast. They were not successful with their CFA process, though they were looking for additional marking and some, controllers for the emissions of the trucks. They're still putting that in even without the support of the state for that. Jim brought up the fact of the pumping station during the great flood of Halloween of this year. Pumping station was washed away. They did find it down the stream. From initial looks, it doesn't appear to be that anything major happened. It took a while to get it approved through their town, to get it on a truck and out to Illinois where it was manufactured. It's out there now. Early next week we'll know if there's anything needed. With FEMA's last coming around that they're gonna cover costs for municipalities, that should cover all the costs that are involved in that. Tractor Supply has been the only unhappy camper. They use industrial toilets, so they did not have enough flow for a lot of them. They have brought in some of those real nice porta potties, you know, the ones that you see at other places, so that's hurt them a little bit. But that was the only issue. Heidelberg has not had one issue with the bread and the manufacturer, because they kinda do it later at night. So it's worked out okay for right now, but they've already moved the platform where they're gonna put the pump station when it comes back. They hired a contractor who's gonna put the piping in, get it all ready to go, so when it comes back, they set it on and go. They thought they could pressure test it here, there was no way. You know, everybody thinks they got a guy, but when you have a $800,000 pumping station that has to have all these things work in conjunction together, you just can't do it out in the field. So, that's been done now, so, in the process now, so that park is pretty good until the springtime, when we take.
Who's gonna pay for any of the part to put that pump back to?
It should be all FEMA,
All FEMA?
yeah.
It's the town's
We're gonna have to
responsibility.
wait for the money, or do we pay it up front and then?
The
get
town owns it. We turned it over to the town last year. I don't think we should leave them high and dry, but right now I've talked with them from the beginning,
No pun intended.
high and dry. There was a pun intended, thank you, John.
It's usually.
That's why I'm letting you know I'm paying attention.
That is, that's very good.
FEMA could be a year to 2 year process.
Crapshoot, yeah.
You know, it's,
But we're not anticipating a lot of cost here. They were very willing to help get that looked at and get, you know, I saw inside there's some of the seals flipped, cause you can see some rusted spots. But really, the whole unit, the way it landed with electronics up in the air. The generator on the back might be an issue, but the rest of it, and it was built on a huge, steel beam base. So that's what saved it. What was really neat though, well not neat, but it was kinda, that Mike Irons, who's the water guy, has the control through his phone, and it went off, and he goes, oh, it's probably just, over pumping or something because of the rain. And as he came over the hill, it was gone. And his mind was like, where did that go? And what happened was that debris blocked the under 5S, because it's over on Brookside near 5S when you're going to Utica, from Ilion to Utica. And it blocked it so that it caused it to swirl and come back. And as it kept swirling, it just dug away at the bank, and it went so far in the last swoop, and it just took it right into the bank, to the water. So they believe, and a lot of it is the state's issue for not clearing out that creek enough to have it so it could flow under that bridge. That's the state's bridge.
Did the town have any kind of extra insurance on it?
They had insurance, but so did the village have it insured at the same time. And so one of the things that was told to me, well, they didn't have they wouldn't benefit from it. I said, that's not true. They benefit from selling the water to them. So they're looking at both sides of the insurance on it too. And they should get insurance through the village. It was paying it, and it does benefit the village. Without that pumping station, the village wouldn't be selling them that water. Manheim Business Park, we just went ahead with that, the map plan and report. As soon as we know a little bit more, I'll get out to everybody, but, it's been a long road, but I think things are good. We did not win the WIA grant that we helped support down there. That was for the water infrastructure improvement opportunity down there. But that doesn't mean we're not gonna reapply by the time it can come around again. I think with their flooding that happened this year, the WIA was already determined before that'll give us some points to updo it, to grade that as well. If that pipeline that they utilized coming down was damaged in the flood, that would really hurt them, so they truly need this backup water source. Capital Resource Corporation, which we've been talking about, we're waiting. If we would've had the meeting today, things that would've kept us here later, and then the other thing would've been that we would've had to done all the reporting for this past year.
With me at all, so what's going on, since it's a county function?
He's been
How do you
talking to
Ross?
him.
Joe Scott said he was just gonna, we were gonna delay till,
No, I've been calling them, nobody calls back,
Jimmy's been talking to him.
talk tomorrow. We go maybe.
because it's a county function, it's,
All right, Jim.
okay. No, I'll reach out again today.
Well, I'll make sure he gets a hold
I
of it.
was wondering, I thought he might be talking to you guys, not talking to the county, so.
Oh,
No, I mean, through,
Okay. No big deal, I'm just saying,
okay, I'll make sure he reaches out.
I think
Thanks.
he's considering Jim the county,
okay.
not the IDA here.
That would be Kurt, or the chairman, or me. Jim's the IDA and vice chairman.
He's been wearing two hats,
Oh,
I think.
I'm not,
That's why
that's
he's-
why
I
I'm
think
clarifying,
That's why he's doing it.
that's why I'm
He
clarifying.
just, see if he wears two hats right now. All right.
So just to say it again, that if we would've done it this past year, it would've just been a lot of added expense for nothing. And because of some of the CFAs that were won, it's gonna benefit us because of Herkimer Housing Authority and some other project we'll talk about in a minute. The transmission line, we're still, we're looking at other funding sources. We're gonna have a meeting this month on that transmission line. The survey packet's in place. We're still trying to put together a better schedule, especially for the first quarter for the county who's supporting us on the funding on that up front in order to get the money replaced. Everything's is in a good direction, just needs some better timing, scheduling to help out, and I'll get that to Mr. Wallace very soon. And then I've met with Schumer's office and Brandeisi's office, and we're working on an EDA grant for economic adjustment assistance to put the pipeline actually in. And that can be over $10 million for the grant money for that. So that's one thing we're looking, so there'll be no cost to anybody out there on that. Brownfield Conference, we talked about that already. In your handout is the board evaluation. Please fill that out before you go. Oh, no, she didn't hand it yet, I'm sorry, it's coming. Okay, I'm sorry, made a mistake, hold on,
Bernie, you
quick
wanna
to attack.
fill it out for me?
Oh, you don't have to.
Why not, Bernie? Go ahead and fill it out for me, Bernie. I'll do one for you, you do one for me.
So, in the packet that Victoria is handing out right now is our evaluation, our tentative dates for the IDA board meetings coming up, as well as our Fuse Hub event of June 3rd and 4th, which we've worked out to be excellent for us over the years. Also in the handout is a list of our projects that we're working on right now. Some of them aren't closed, which you'll see. Gives us, talks about where they are in the system. We have a system set up where we can go into each project and see where it sets, what we have been going on with it. We're trying to be more streamlined for it, so if I'm not in the office, Stacy or Victoria can go to the page and say, oh yeah, we're here for this. Yes, we are waiting for you to provide us with that. Then you'll also see in there the last page, which is the CFA awards, which is,
She's just giving them out now.
oh, I thought she had them all. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they were all one packet.
Not all in one. Lots and lots of paperwork. Growing trees again, huh?
Yeah.
So you're gonna see, I'm sorry, I thought the whole packet came out, it did not. What's in there is our tentative dates, our schedule, our projects, and our CFAs. We were very successful this year with CFAs. Don't you think, Mr. Wallace?
Absolutely.
I mean, we did some great things this year. Feldmeyer with $2.5 million. We'll have a meeting within the next 2 weeks with them. The City of Little Falls, we won a BOA which is a brownfield opportunity assessment with the Village of Dolgeville, working with the County of Fulton on that. So that's something we'll be talking about. We agreed to help support that too down the road. The town of Frankfurt won a salt shed, so did the town of Russia. We also, as I mentioned, that EDGE grant that we received to do some strategic implementation at the Dualfold property. The child care, which was a huge win for the county. Eastern Gardens, which is another large thing that we're working on with Herkimer Housing Authority, which will help us with the LDC or the CRC, as well as once the line gets put in place, the sewer line for up to the expansion. There'll be some other opportunities with the Herkimer, I can't think of their name right now.
Valley
Beatrice's
Residential?
place.
Valley Health.
Valley Health, yeah. With Rock City Development, they're putting in a shared workspace environment, which is something we desperately needed here in the county. Our micro enterprise grants, you can see we did a lot this year. We're very happy with the results of that. So, once again, it gives you an outline of the different projects. Please feel free to ask any questions on those when you'd like. Meeting dates. The site selector outline, which we handed out to all of you, you have that. At our last EDGE meeting, a couple weeks ago, it was great. They included our win in California in their slide presentation. I thought that was excellent. They're starting to include us in a lot more. The Senate thing that Jim talked about, I know I sent that around to everybody too. If they want to see it, let me know. I can resend it out. Long range plans. Yeah,
You wanna go over those?
oh, well, there's 60 of them. You want to, we can go over each
No,
one?
no, I'm just, it's an important sheet there, just, for people who think that, not much is going on, take a look at the sheet, and there's 63 plus projects every day, you get a phone call, but these are all projects in the works, or have been completed, within the last,
Year
year or
and a
two,
half.
yeah, so. Okay.
Difference of the projects, so.
All right, anything else under project, anybody wanna bring in?
No, this is pretty good. Nice job.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wait, Jim.
As far as, the loans and stuff, any problems collecting on that album or?
Nope, all up to date.
Nice, that's crazy.
That's a great thing, isn't it?
That's a real good thing, I mean.
We have a guy named Vito.
Projects like
He was doing good.
Pardon?
That's it for projects. In a previous political life, I had issues collecting on things like that, so.
No, we've been very lucky.
Even the
We
Fall
really have.
Valley
Yeah.
Economic Development is having
Backing
some
up.
small issues on that too.
Okay, any else?
You put, either you or Bernie will put like a state of the county and incorporate this into something that'll end up in the newspaper. Is that, you should do that, right? I mean,
There's a Genesis thing coming up, in January, I guess, we announce it there, or it could be a state of the county.
this needs to be
Did
promoted.
you, Jim, did you hear anything that the chambers can't do those anymore?
No,
She was trying to tell me something, but I didn't know if I believed that they're not to be political and they can't, something came down from the state that they
Wow.
can't host those,
Legislative breakfast?
Yeah.
Really?
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That must be something new.
Yeah.
Papers didn't contact, did they contact you guys? Usually every year they ask for a,
You know, I mean,
for
with that,
Bernie or you or me or John or
we could never,
whoever.
hold something for, someone that is running for office.
Yeah.
In other words, if Brian was gonna run against somebody, he couldn't speak, but we're just letting our elected, we're just giving them a platform to speak for the people.
Yeah, I think
I
they're
don't see
stopping
anything wrong
that.
with Well, there's another thing.
Get your hands slapped.
You know, you talk about transparency, but you can't host your elected official speaking to somebody.
But you got an elected official could do it on their own and, whatever. Okay. Anything else for the good, the organization? Bill, you wanted to say anything with what's going on? Are we busy? Go back to everybody.
We'll see 'em
So,
Monday.
we've got a
Many
lot of work
meetings
going
Monday?
on everywhere. We're anticipating being about 200 carpenters short in the next 3 months. There's great opportunity in the Carpenters Union. If anybody knows anybody that has any skills and interest, we'd appreciate the contact. We're looking at a great year. It's due to efforts of people like yourselves. The work is coming around. Growth is happening. As everybody understands, we experience some pushback from people on projects because, you know, some people are afraid of change. We, as an organization, hand out these books, Who Moved My Cheese, to our members, to get them to understand if we don't change, we're gonna get run right over and we're gonna be left behind, so.
With the advent of Cree and the hospital, and, I mean, Woodstock, you know, we're seeing it with our jail, we can't find masons.
Can't find a
We're
mason.
About 25 masons.
Up in
So-
Saratoga, there were 50 masons short
Right,
on their
so
project.
the Masons are falling, behind greatly on their recruiting efforts. It's definitely a dying trade because you don't see a lot of the brick and mortar buildings going up anymore. Usually shelf life on a new building is 10 to 20 years, you tear it down and put up something else. You know, so those things are going away. They do great when there's like an addition on an old school where you gotta match the existing, facade. But other than that, I mean, they're struggling terribly, as far as things go. It seems like all the other trades are stepping up and, working on recruiting and, you know, bolstering their manpower to, get ready for a big push. Last we talked to, the Excite Technology, who's the construction manager for the Cree project. They're anticipating pouring concrete, starting concrete about March, and they're gonna pour about 3,000 yards a day. So, we've got our hands full in a lot of different areas. We appreciate all the opportunities and, the communications with, you know, groups like you guys.
Good luck.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have a member here in, Herkimer that's, looking to get more involved in the community. So if anybody can provide some direction, that would be great. And, you know, hopefully we can help out. There's, a shortage of, interested people. And then I just wanna say, you guys are saving the holiday cheer for the executive session. That's what I came down to. Disappointed.
That was our goal.
It was. But thank you.
This guy's-
I can wait.
Till we shut the camera off.
That's right.
All right, thank you, good luck to you.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a happy Christmas.
We need a motion.
Yes.
Wait.
Christmas presents.
Can you pound the nails?
No, but I used to go out with a girl named Karen.
Motion
Get
to
it?
wait.
Karen Carpenter.
Before we go into executive session, I just wanna thank everybody who's in this room too. I mean, we have a lot of things going on, you're all very supportive. With, you know, Stacy and Victoria, they've been excellent, we keep growing and doing a lot of things. I truly thank everybody. It's been a great year and I see a great 2020, so thank you.
I'll echo that we also have a great whole staff, but also a great executive director who's helped us in a lot of ways to move these projects forward, so I commend you. I don't know if you were gonna say that, but I didn't mean to.
No, but
You talk to him 4 times a day.
gonna say,
you know,
he talks
None of them are ever, none of them are ever,
He talks to him more than he
I
talks to
hang
his
up
wife.
on him 4 times a day, but, I probably talk to him 15. Anyways, anything else for the good here? Okay, we need a motion to go to executive session, you could all stay, I'm pretty sure just to get you updated on things, so. TD Land, till next time, we'll see you.
I'll make a motion